But there is a lot of money. I mean, this is a
course.
$70 billion a year industry. And more so than in previous eras, the involvement of private contractors in intelligence work. How does privatization affect the calculus on these issues?
This is one of the elements that's most alarming for us at POGO, is that you now have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people who are getting clearances that are not a part of the federal government. And they're working for entities whose purpose is not the public interest, but is the bottom line. So that on its face is a little bit alarming to us in just sort of the vast expansion of that universe. And then what happens is the capacity for secrecy is even deeper in the private sector. So those contractors, it is much harder, for example, to have any kind of access through the Freedom of Information Act. And they also have the capacity of hiding behind the Trade Secrets Act often. So, so what's already mostly secret in the government is even that much more secret when it's in the private sector.
And when we're talking about intelligence activities, clearly it's critical that they spend their money wisely. So when you see this waste, fraud, or abuse, it's troubling. But they also have enormous power to invade the privacy and civil rights of Americans. Do the lack of internal controls that you see when you're looking at these financial questions raise concerns about how these agencies protect rights within this closed system?
Well, what you're raising is this really dangerous confluence, right? Because we're talking about private companies that have a profit motive, and information is of great monetary value. So when we know, as we do now, that all the telecoms, for example, are part of our intelligence apparatus, the information that they're gathering has great financial value to them. And who is protecting us from having our information being essentially used by those companies?
And what's the effect of that on democratic control of the intelligence activity?
One of the things that I think is one of the many things that's really alarming about particularly this world of surveillance in the intelligence community is who is advocating for the people, right? If you have elements who has a real profit motive for being as aggressive as possible, because more means more money, and you have intelligence agencies that have such a cloak of secrecy that it allows them to operate with almost no accountability. So what that means also is that they're not held accountable when things go badly, when they're not doing their job well, because we can't tell that because everything's secret. But moreover, back to your question, when you have entities that have a profit motive for being as aggressive as possible, and you have agencies that have essentially no accountability, our worry is then who is looking out? There's no advocate for the people whose information is really being taken from us.